Please take out lesson 3.6, page 65 and 66. And you may want to grab some crowns because we're going to make a graph. And when I make graphs, I like to use different colors for each column, all right, because that makes it easy to read the graph. And when you're making a graph, the whole point of it is so that it's easy for someone to look at it quickly and determine how many there are of each item. This bottom part is our key, and so we're going to be counting these objects: scarecrows, corn, trees, pumpkins, and apples, okay? So for the first one, they've done it already for us. Then they chose the color green. They counted the scarecrows. As you can see in the picture, there's only one scarecrow. So for the scarecrows, they colored in one box. The next thing they want me to look for in the picture is corn, okay? So I'm going to use a yellow to do the corn, all right? So if I look at the photo up here, the picture they've given me, I can see that there's 1, 2 corn stalks. So I'm going to color in 2 corn stalks. When I do a graph, I always want to start by the key, okay? Sometimes the key is on the side, sometimes it's at the bottom, okay? This time it's at the bottom. So there are 2, so I need to start at the bottom and color up 2, all right? Let me choose a slightly fatter crown to make this quicker so it doesn't take me all day. Now the other thing I need to remember when I'm doing a graph is that I want to make sure that I keep my coloring in the blocks because I want this to be an accurate graph. If I go outside the block, then it might confuse someone who is reading the graph and they might think, oh, did she mean there were 2.5 scarecrows? Or 3 scarecrows? So I want to make sure that I stop right at that line that they've given me, okay? I went a little above, so next time I need to try better, okay? Next, I'm going to color the trees. And I do not have a brown, which would have been my normal choice, so I'm going to use black, okay? So they want me to count the trees and graph how many trees there are in the picture. I see 1, 2, 3. So there's 1 block, here's 2 blocks, and here's 3 blocks. Now, we need to color those in so that our graph is accurate, okay? So far, I can look at this graph and quickly see, without trying to go through the picture and count all the objects again, that I have more trees than anything else because I can look at this quickly and see that the column that marks how many trees is taller. So that means there are more trees. Okay. The next object they want me to graph is the pumpkins. Okay. So let's see how many pumpkins there are. I'm going to look carefully at my picture. There's a pumpkin here, 1 over here, 1 over here, 1 over here. That makes 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't see any other pumpkins in the page. So I'm going to color in 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And I'm just going to make mine real easy. Remember, we start at the bottom, but since I already made my dots, I know which ones I'm going to be coloring in. This is just to make my life simpler on the computer because it's not as easy to color on the computer, as I've told you many times. All right, the last thing I'm graphing is apples, okay? So I need to choose a color for the apple. I'm going to use this pinkish shade that I have, and I'm going to count the apples in the picture. The apples, it doesn't look like there's any on the tree. At first I thought some of these leaves might be tree apples, but they're not. They're just leaves. Okay. No other leaves hidden, or no more apples hidden, rather. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to color in all the blocks because I have 5 apples. And on my graph, each block represents 1 item, okay? So since there are 5 apples, I need to color in 5 blocks to represent the 5 apples. Now I can look at this and I can easily tell, without even looking at this picture, I could cover this picture up with my hand and I could look at it and say, oh, the apples. There's the most of the apples. There's the fewest of the scarecrows. I could also compare things easily, and I could say, one scarecrow, 2 corns. One scarecrow, 3 trees. All right, these lines over here tell me how many there are. This represents 1. If it comes up to this, it represents 2. If it comes up to this line here, that's 3. This line here would mean there's 4 of the object, and if it goes all the way to the top, that means there's 5, just like my apples. So I can easily look at this graph, and that's the whole purpose of graph. It's so that we can visually determine what there is the most of or the fewest of. Let's flip over to the back, and this time we're going to count and circle the group that has 1 more than the other. Now, in some of these pictures, you might easily be able to tell which group you have more of, and some of the groups may be a little bit more difficult. I think this first one's a little bit more difficult because the croquet clubs kind of visually confuse our eyes the way they're laid out, and there's stripes and so forth. So let's just go ahead and count how many of these we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Remember, I'm going to count and circle the group that has 1 more than the other. So there's 4 of these. Now, let's see how many balls there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 of the balls. So this group has 5. The other group, that 5 got ugly. The other group has 4. I'm circling the group that has 1 more. I have 1 more ball than I have croquet mallets. Let's go to the blue star. This one's easy. I can really easily look at this and just tell you, oh, I have 4 stars and 3 buckets. Those numbers are small, the pictures are very clear, and they're apart, so I can tell you, without even having to count, that there is 1 more star than there is bucket. There's 3 buckets and 4 stars. Hopefully your eyes were able to determine that very quickly as well. Okay, now let's go down to the remote controls and the planes, all right? This time I'm going to go ahead and count just to be certain. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 airplanes. Let's switch to a different color for our remote controls. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 remote controls. 6 or 5. Which group has 1 more? I have 1 more remote control. Easy peasy, nothing to it. Go ahead and finish your work and stick that in your folder. Good job.